What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today what I have for you guys is an update on Black Ops 2020's possible release date, as well as the microtransactions that may be featured in that game. So just the other day, we got a very unexpected statement from Activision confirming that Modern Warfare will not have loot boxes or supply drops ever, in a huge change for Call of Duty's microtransaction systems. Post-launch weapons will be earned through gameplay, and a battle pass system will be implemented and will feature cosmetic items, also allowing you to earn COD points similar to the battle pass within Call of Duty Mobile. So there's a lot to take away from that statement alone, but Treyarch themselves also reflected on that and said it was huge news, and thanks to Activision for finally confirming that, and that it was starting with Modern Warfare. So by reading that tweet, we kind of get the interpretation that Treyarch's trying to hint that, hey, with our next game, we're also going to be experiencing a similar system, which doesn't include loot boxes or supply drops. So I'm sure Treyarch is very happy about this. And the tweet also kind of shouts, hey, it wasn't our fault that microtransactions were the way they were in Black Ops 3 and 4, and it was all up to Activision. And we knew that already. People out there are obviously extremely ignorant about the situation, saying that it's Treyarch's fault and it was developers, in charge of that stuff. And I'm sure in terms of like the chairman of some of these development teams, they probably get a bonus if microtransactions sell well. But in terms of the devs themselves who put all of their hard work into the game, I'm almost positive they have no input or involvement in any of those decisions. It's all up to Activision when it comes to stuff like that. But I want to be optimistic about it, right? Because Call of Duty Mobile is essentially taking the place of Modern Warfare's microtransactions. Call of Duty Mobile is a free-to-play game, so by all means, they could release as many anti-consumer policies as they want because it's free to play. But when it comes to Modern Warfare, they just don't need to do that because they project Call of Duty Mobile to generate lots of revenue with over 100 million downloads in just a couple of weeks since release, which is insane. So there's no need to put anything crazy toxic in Modern Warfare, but stay optimistic about this, right? If Call of Duty Mobile, and I doubt this will ever happen, if Call of Duty Mobile ever stops generating a good amount of revenue, then you could probably expect something to be incorporated into Modern Warfare. Even if it won't be weapons and other things they confirm won't be behind paywalls, it'll still be something like weapon variants or skins or watches and outfits, probably to that extent, right? So expect that. But when it comes to Black Ops, one of my reliable sources reached out to me and told me the following. I'm hearing Call of Duty 2020 will be postponed until 2021, and that Call of Duty will be changing their release dates again from October to possibly June or July. What do you think about this? Also, have you heard this yet? And I haven't heard about that from just about anybody, but it's still worth bringing up. As a reminder, no one is claiming this information as 100% legit or 100% confirmed. It's just a rumor that one of my sources was hearing behind the scenes. And you have to also remember that things are thrown around so much behind the scenes. So many things are brought up and pitched that never see the light of day. And as the Gaming Revolution himself has leaked the entirety of Modern Warfare, he himself confirmed that supply drops at some point were in Modern Warfare and were literally cut at the very last minute. Any reliable leaker can tell you that things get changed in a matter of minutes, in a matter of days. So again, an idea could have been pitched to change Call of Duty's release date and postpone COD 2020, and maybe that won't happen, but there's always a possibility with it. But in regards to Black Ops possibly being postponed, I guess I could see that happening. It is kind of plausible since I haven't heard anything good about the development with COD 2020. I've heard nothing but bad news about how the development is pretty difficult and that they can't get a replayable campaign put together with iconic moments that Call of Duty is known for, and they can't get a clear vision set in stone for this possible Black Ops reboot to the franchise. So with that being said, postponing that game and the release date, I should say, does make a little bit of sense, right? Activision definitely does not want the game to suffer the same way Black Ops 4 did, where it releases broken as hell, completely unstable with blue screens, which destroys the player base permanently for the remainder of that year. They definitely wouldn't do that again, so I think they'd rather postpone the game, which they've never done with Call of Duty, just to ensure that it releases as stable as possible. And to change the Call of Duty schedule to June is a little interesting to think about too, because you would have a dedicated player base within the summer, right? Instead of November or, late October, where people are just starting school again, people get busy. Doing it in June or July could drastically impact how Call of Duty sells annually. Kids will be out of school, playing more games, so Activision might consider making that change. But I also think it's fair to say that the next Black Ops game from Treyarch does deserve a chance. I really want to see how Modern Warfare's engine and new features impact the future of the Call of Duty series, right? I want to see how zombies will be experienced with the idea of cross-platform, with the idea of DLC being released all at one time, right? You have zombies Easter egg hunts on all platforms at the same time for the very first time in Call of Duty history, right? You could possibly see a free-to-play zombies mode. Now you'll see separate downloads for your different game modes in the Call of Duty itself, like Modern Warfare is doing with campaign, multiplayer, Spec Ops, DLC. I want to see how all of that affects the next Black Ops game, especially in terms of zombies. And I think it's fair to give it at least a chance before judging. I know the game's having a bit of a rocky development cycle right now. It's only on a 2-year cycle, but you also have to remember that the game will be less ambitious because it's on a 2-year cycle, more on par with Black Ops 1 and 2, where they don't have much time to fool around, test out this, experiment with this, kind of play around with other ideas. They only have time to put together a story, possibly reboot the Black Ops series, and then execute that as best as they can. So with their time constraints, the game will probably be as simplistic as Black Ops 1 and 2 were. Hopefully original and hopefully replayable, but definitely not as ambitious and outlandish like Black Ops 3 and 4, right? Black Ops 3's campaign feels so disconnected from the Black Ops universe, with only a few references to Black Ops 1 and 2. I see what they were doing with it, right? Going with a new meaning behind Black Ops and going with this crazy mindfuckery and a cool plot twist, and it was alright, but in terms of gameplay, it just wasn't executed as good as it should have been. It didn't resonate with the community the way that it should have for being a co-op campaign, and the first co-op campaign since I think World at War, right? And then Black Ops 4, they were going with this outlandish 2v2 co-op race with our specialist characters from Black Ops 3, essentially a sequel to Black Ops 3 that was kind of telling a deeper story with these specialist characters, and that got scrapped in mid-2017, literally at the last minute before Black Ops 4 came out, and that was then kind of reworked in the Specialist HQ, which in my opinion is just a glorified tutorial on some of the multiplayer maps in game. Very weird story. I get what they were going for, and then they were trying to also tie in Blackout to that, but it was just a giant mess. So I think Treyarch learned their lesson, not to be too outlandish, not to go too ambitious, stick to the simple Call of Duty formula with campaigns, tell a good story, have some great action sequences, and then from there build a great multiplayer experience. But I think with Black Ops 4, they were trying too many different things with the extra time they had, and it just didn't work out. So maybe more time isn't always better, and we'll hopefully see that with this new iteration of Call of Duty in 2020. Now, last but not least, I also wanted to reiterate my statement about zombies in this new Black Ops game, because people out there are confused about how the next Black Ops game could feature zombies in some type of Ether multiverse, and here's how this could work, right? The new zombie story could be under the Ether umbrella before the events of Tagged or Toten, before the multiverse is closed off. You could have a new story set in the Ether universe, but goes in a whole different direction that our original crews just never went to. Those depths just weren't explored. And I think they could really pull it off, but you probably won't have very many references to our old story, but it will be acknowledged in some way, shape, or form at least once or twice. And I think that would be a way for Activision to be like, okay, we know Ether sells zombies, Ether sells Call of Duty, so let's make sure people know the new story is under the Ether umbrella, but out of respect for Treyarch's 11-year arc, it won't be a continuation after Tagged or Toten. It always could be, but I don't think it'll be, a sequel to Ether in that sense, but more of a spin-off, if that really makes sense to the community out there. But when it comes to the Dark Ether, I think DLC 5 fits in very well with a possible continuation to Tagged or Toten, but after that, I think that's where it's a good place to end it, right? Where the multiverse is closed off and the 115 apocalypse is destroyed. It's ended. I think that's where it makes sense to end it. So with the new story being under the Ether umbrella, it would obviously have to be a prequel at some point to Tagged or Toten. And in regards to Battle Royale, we know for a fact from reliable leakers that a Battle Royale is coming to Modern Warfare at some point in 2020, so does it really make sense to also put a Battle Royale in the next Black Ops game, even if it's not at launch, since Modern Warfare's Battle Royale is releasing so late? So if anything, if I had to make a prediction, I would say because of Modern Warfare's new engine, new features, and all these promises, it probably makes the most sense wants to give Modern Warfare a second year of life and continue supporting Modern Warfare's Battle Royale even through the release of the next Black Ops game, just to ensure that Treyarch has a smooth development process and only has to worry about campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. A very simplistic Call of Duty, back to the roots of the franchise, and possibly rebooting the Black Ops series overall, while you have Infinity Ward, who's really ahead of schedule right now, continuously supporting their Battle Royale system. But when it comes to Battle Royale, that could give Activision leeway to introduce these anti-consumer systems, anti-consumer microtransactions. That's what the Battle Pass could be doing, right? They'll have leeway because they're giving us free DLC, cross-platform, free-to-play maps, all these crazy new promises, no loot boxes. So with that being said, they can then introduce just about any microtransaction that they want that may not have DLC weapons locked behind it, but still something that people out there will probably want and would spend money on. So don't be surprised to see that, but at the end of the day, I'm happy to hear the statement from Activision that change is happening to the Call of Duty series. You know, you can earn COD points now through this new Battle Pass that's going to be coming out soon, so maybe that'll be transferable to all Call of Duty games, so you can maybe earn COD points in Modern Warfare and then use them in Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4, whatever game you guys are playing. So a lot of things to look forward to with the Call of Duty series, but when it comes to Black Ops, I think it's promising to think about, you know, having Easter egg hunts on all platforms at the same time, cross-platform gameplay on new zombie maps. There might be stability errors at first, but I'm sure they could, you know, pull through and figure out those issues later on down the line. So a lot of things to look forward to with the Call of Duty franchise, but that is about it. This has been DK Dynamite. Check out links down below in the description. What do you guys think about the Black Ops 2020 and Treyarch's tweet about microtransactions possibly seeing the light of day and finally changing for the better for the future of the franchise? That is about it, and peace out, everyone.